Good day, my dear friends. We're going to talk today about the denarius during the empire, during the Roman Empire. Previously, we have a conversation about the coinage in the Roman Republic, and also about the denarius in the Roman Republic. And we said we were going to continue it talking about the denarius during the empire. Let us talk about the background. Let us remember about the background. First of all, Rome was at the beginning a monarchy, then a republic, and then an empire. We're going to talk today about the empire. The empire began in the 27th before Christ with the control of Octavian that became Caesar Augustus. This happened after decades of civil war. He finally controlled the situation and he became the first emperor with the name Augustus. The quality of the Republican denarius remains high. Remember that since the Lex Flaminia, that established that 98% was silver and 3.9 grams of weight. He founded the dynasty, the Julius Claudia dynasty. And he was the first emperor, as I said before. He did a reform. He started with a reform. And as you see, there are gold coins here, the aureus and the quinarius of gold. But the monetary unit was the denarius. The denarius, as we said in the previous conversation, it was worth 16 copper aces. Remember, the ace was originally 10 aces for one denarius and then changed to 16. Well, we are in 16. He conserved this change. Half of the denarius was the silver quinarius with a worth of 8 aces. Then the sestertius, remember, sestertius were silver, very tiny, very small coins. Now they are going to become, or they became, an orichalcum sestertius, bronze sestertius. Well, they had the pontius, they have also the ace, the quadrans, and also the semis. But we're talking today about the denarius. So let us look at coins. That's what we like. Here we have in Augustus denarius, just at the beginning of his government, with the wall of Emerita in the reverse. Another of Augustus with the victory, and with the SPQR, Senatus Populusque Romanorum, the Senate and the people of the Romans. The weight here, you see, is going to be the same thing, 3.9 and 98%. Another one with the same weight, same fineness, with beautiful image of Augustus. The second emperor is going to be Tiberius or Tiberius. Tiberius between the 14 and 37. Here you have the very famous denarius of the tribute. This is because when they asked Jesus if it was licit or not to pay taxes to Caesar, he asked for a coin. So they gave him, presumably, they gave him this coin. We cannot be sure what coin they gave him, but the tradition says that this was the denarius that were circulating in Judea. So here you have Pontifex Maximum, one of the designations of the emperor, and here we have a Tiberius And that's why he just asked, and he said, well, give the Caesar what this belongs to Caesar, and gives God what belongs to God. You see, already under Tiberius or Tiberius, this is going to go low. He's just a little bit less weight and less fineness. We arrived to Caligula, very famous emperor. He established all the mintings, all the coins mintings in Rome. And here you have a very beautiful denarius. This costs a lot of money, of course, in this condition. You have here Caligula, and at the reverse you have his sister. His sister Agrippina is going to be a very famous woman in the history of Rome, not only because she was his sister, but because she was the wife of Claudius, the next emperor, and mother of Nero. And here, you see, 3.65, continues to low. Same thing, here you have Caligula with Augustus, just to make the people know he was in the same, he had the heritage from Augustus. Then comes Claudius, and Claudius establishes the main mint in Rome, but he accepted no other mints. These were the provincial Roman coins, and these were minted in Ephesus, where the Christophorus, very famous also, the didrachms or the drachms in Cappadocia. Here you have the denarius of Claudius. You see, it's lowering also the weight, and is keeping 93% of silver. Beautiful denarius indeed. And another of Claudius with a reverse of a big, in honor of his work and of his battles in Britain. You see, but here is an interesting point. With Claudius, all these military campaigns, they need money. And if he needs money, he has to produce more coins, and he has to low the weight, and low also the fineness of the coin. We arrive to Nero, and the weight and fineness continue to decrease. Really, not so much the fineness, but just the weight. You see, we arrive to 3.3 grams of silver. You have a beautiful here, very beautiful denarius with the salus in the reverse. We arrive to the year of the 4 emperors. These 4 emperors are going to be 1 year. All of them are going to have denarius minted. You see here denarius of Galba, Otho, and Vitellius. But the 4th emperor that is going to control the situation is going to be Vespasian. And Vespasian, he founds another dynasty, the Flavian dynasty. And because of the wars, always because of the wars, he had to reduce the content of silver to 89%. His son Domitian attempted to restore the coinage to 98%, but he could do it for 3 years. After that, he went back. He didn't go to 89%, but he went to the Nero standard of 93%. Do you have here Vespasian denarius, 89%? Very beautiful. And the reverse, you have Judea. He pacificated Judea. And here's the trophy, the victory, because he pacificated Judea. Vespasian with his sons Titus and Domitian. You see, here's the denarius between the 72 and 73 year. This mark in light blue means the years. So this was minted during these years. In every picture you see, when you see that number, means the year is minted the coin that we're presenting. Then we have him at the reverse, Titus and Domitian. And as I told you, Domitian wanted to pull up again the fineness of the coin, but he couldn't. So he went back to 93% and 3.3 grams. Here we have it with Minerva at this side. And we arrive to the Antonine or Antonine dynasty. I don't know how you pronounce Antonine or Antonine. But the important character here is going to be Trajan. And this dynasty is going to be very important in this. It's going to last for almost 100 years. Trajan, after the Dacian Wars, slightly reduced the denarius fineness, slightly, from 93 to 89.5. Here you see a very beautiful denarius with the emperor at the reverse, but reducing the fineness. Another denarius, beautiful denarius, very beautiful, this image of the emperor here. And his successor, Adrian, still conserves 3.3 and 89.5. Beautiful pieces, of course. Just this map is to show you that this in pink, these regions in pink, they depended from the senatorial provinces. Instead, the other ones that were in the frontier, they depended directly. They were managed directly by the emperor, because the emperor had to have control of, because the wars were here. All the wars, all the military campaigns were here. We arrive to Antoninus Pius, and the fineness of the currency decreases once again to 83, 85%. Here you have the new denarius. And then arrives Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius faced war against Germanic and Persian tribes and reduced silver content to the levels of 75 to 80%. Commodus, his successor, reduced the weight till 2.36 grams. Here you have both of them. You have here Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, and here you have Commodus. This was a fighter, I don't know how to say it. Well, you know the whole story about Commodus. He's a very famous emperor also. And we get to the year of the 5 emperors. Once again, the 5 emperors all minted coins, but at the end, Septimius Severus is going to control the situation. By the end of the 2nd century, all these military campaigns and civil wars and are making really giving a good push, a good push towards down to the coin, to the economic situation. So, by the end of the 2nd century, the denarius had lost credibility. From over 95% of purity has arrived less than 80, and from 3.9 has arrived to 2.36 grams. Pertinax, he wanted to revalue the denarius, but he lasted only less than a year, so he couldn't do nothing. His denarius was 3.3 and 60% of silver, maybe less. So we arrived to the Severian dynasty. Septimius Severus controls the situation, but he had to face civil wars against Pescennius Niger, another pseudo-emperor, and Albinus, and all these situations were really dramatic from an economical point of view. So here you have Septimius Severus with this weight arriving to 2.6 and with the fineness down and down. At the beginning of the 3rd century, the situation was really critical. Increased military spending and the lack of conquests led to drastic situations like this one. The devaluation arrived to 40% silver under Caracalla. And then Caracalla decided to introduce a new coin, This new coin, we call it nowadays the Antoninianus, but we don't know the exact name of it. It was worth 2 denarii. It was worth 2 denarii, but it didn't have the weight of 2 denarii. So that coin was not going to be accepted by the merchants, and the first time it was retired, and then it came back again after a few years. Here you see Caracalla Youngman with a denarius of 60%, and here you see Caracalla older with a denarius of less than 40%. And here you see the Antoninianus with the way to recognize most, not all, most of the Antoninianus was because they had this crown. The emperor had this crown on the head. But this coin was not twice the weight, was 1.5 the weight of a denarius. So that's why people didn't like it. We arrived to the crisis of the 3rd century, between those years you see on light blue, and this means the decline of the denarius. The denarius falls into disuse and becomes a unit of account, only a unit of account. The quality of the Antoninianus also deteriorates very rapidly, and in 238, during the year of 6 emperors now, is minted again and established as a main currency. Established as a main currency, but we arrived to Gordian III, and he mints enormous quantities of coins, denarii and Antoniniani, with progressively less and less silver until almost nothing of silver. And then, in many cases, the Antoniniani had only a thin surface of silver layer. They were copper or bronze. These are the last coins minted as a circulating currency with the value of a denarius. It will continue to be minted only for ceremonial purposes. Gordian III, you see here a denarius, 2.9 grams at the beginning of his reign. Gordian III, the Antoninianus, these were big Antoninianus, they were a little better accepted when Gordian III. But anyway, every time they mint a new coin, the level went down and down, see? And there was also a disorder. The percentage was very variable, from 40% to very low levels. Around the 260, under Valerian, the actual silver content was less than 5%. The coins still show the silvery tone, and sometimes you can find nowadays the silvery coins in these coins, but they were really made of copper. So large bronze pieces begin to disappear. If you can mint Antoninianus, or maybe several Antoninianus, with one big piece of sestertius from another moment, then they disappear, of course. Here you have a Gallienus, with, here we say less than 5%, really a copper coin. We arrive to the moment that the Gallic is going to be separated from Rome for 14 years, and they also mint their coins. Here you have an example. All of them mint coins. All of them minted, there were several Gallo-Roman emperors, and all of them minted in France, of course, because the Gallic was France, and they minted Antoninianus, especially Antoninianus, all made of copper, of course, no silver in them. We arrive to the moment of the Lydian emperors. As you can see here, there were a lot of emperors between these years, and they continued the same way. Loss of confidence in the currency. More and more denarii and Antoniniani were needed to buy same goods. So this is going to happen, the disappearance of the denarius. These are the last minted, the C, A and E. They are copper or bronze, Also, this one of Probus is a very beautiful piece, but it's nothing of silver. We arrive to the Diocletian, and Diocletianus, or Diocletian, was the first emperor that retired. He was in government for 20 years, as he really had a military success with the Persians. Economic situations got a little better for several years, and he decided to make an economical reform. These are the coins when he began to reign. You see very bad coins in very bad conditions. Say A and E means bronze coins. And this is only, for example, an usurper. Already the Gallic Empire, the Gallic Roman Empire had disappeared. Carausius, anyway, was a Gallic usurper, and he minted denarius coins. But these were not official coins, only in Gallic region. You could see them. They are very rare coins, and they cost a lot. During the empire, and this is important for the collectors, more than 1,000 different types were minted, but not more, much more than 1,000 different types. And we find ourselves facing the reform, the Diocletian reform, new constitution and currency regulation, as he saw that one of the mints marked the coins with SIS, that means Scythia. He decided to order that every place that minted had to mark a standard of the region or the name of the region. So in 294, he introduced a new coin. This new coin was called Denarius Argenteus. Nowadays we talk about this coin, we're saying that it's an Argenteus, but it was called Denarius Argenteus. A coin almost pure silver, weighing 3.4 grams. It looked very much to the dinero denarius. The old Antoninianus was almost entirely phased out, disappearing, and the denarius survived only as a unit of account. Well, Diocletian had this Argenteus, but this Argenteus, that was called Denarius Argenteus, was equivalent to 100 denarius communis. So the denarius communis, the common denarius, was used in all the papers, all the accounts, and this coin was accepted with a word in denarius communis. At the beginning was 100, then it also went down. The Roman denarius was used as both physical and currency until Caracalla, and only as an account unit from Caracalla until Constantine reform in 312. The disappearance of the denarius in the 3rd century marks the end of an era in which the worth of Roman currency lay only and exactly in its silver content. From that point, this is not going to happen. So almost I think let's finish our conversation, but let us see what happens then. Constantine arrives, and he's going to be a very important emperor, of course. He goes for gold. He replaces the aureus for the solidus. With the gold, it didn't happen this situation with the fineness. It always kept the same fineness, the gold coins, but not the same weights. The aureus was almost double than a solidus. Very slowly, the aureus was losing weight till the 312. Anyway, he decided to go on gold. But anyway, after a few years, he had to go for silver also, so he decided to mint another coin that was called the siliqua. He wanted to return, but didn't have success. Same weight and same size as the Argenteus, the Diocletian's Argenteus. As you see, 3.4, 95%, siliqua. But this siliqua, after very few years, not so few, but after very few years. You see here, remember, let us see, 3.4, 95%, it will go to 1.2, 3 times less, and 80% in finest. So, and then it's going to happen also with the centennialis and other coins, but this is less important. With the fall of the Western Roman Empire, we are in the Middle Ages. Along with an economical decline, also the feudal system is going to prevail. There was a return to bartering and the use of metal based on weight, that is, to primitive forms of trade, until Charlemagne's reforms came late, came in the 8th century. He adopted a Carolingian denier, or denier if you were French, denier if you were British. Well, Carolingian denier, there's nothing to do. This is some other story. It's not the same story. We're not anymore in the Roman Empire. We're talking about the Carolingian Empire. So, as I said, that's another story. Maybe in the future we're going to talk about it. Thank you very much for giving your time. Hope you enjoyed this presentation. If you like it, please give it a like. And if you like it more, yes, you can subscribe if you want to. Thank you very much for arriving till this point. Have a nice time.